And let's just start with the winners. Who are they?
Well, it has to be said the dollar was the standout performer of the year. That gained against all 31 of its major counterparts, which hasn't happened since 1989. Particularly interesting were its gains against the euro and against the yen, as that's going to really set up a theme for next year with regards to divergence in monetary policies. So obviously, as you mentioned, that the US is moving towards tighter interest rates, whereas in Europe we've seen significant easing this year. Bank of Japan has added stimulus, and it looks like we're going to see similar moves
Let's
next
just
year.
talk about the yen, because I've been fascinated by its movements. We're at around 119 now. Where is it headed?
Well, that's the big question as to how low can it go, so to speak. I mean, we're looking at the end of next year at the moment. Forecasts are suggesting 125. However, it could weaken beyond that.
Beyond that, I've heard 140.
I think a lot will depend on how Abe, now he's received a new mandate a couple of weeks ago, actually responds to the fact that Japan has slipped into a recession. If they do come out with quite significant easing measures, that should weaken the yen further, and we may see it dip down beyond that 125 level, although people still seem to think that it will finish the year at that point.
Okay, so what about the other ones that have done the worst?
So a lot of the poorest performers have been connected to the oil markets. So oil exporting nations such as Norway and Russia have really seen their currencies suffer. So the Norwegian currency has fallen 18% this year. The Russian ruble is down about 45%. So that's been related to oil sliding to its lowest level in more than 5 years. And the question next year is whether some of those losses will be regained if oil prices do rise.
Well, the economists I've been speaking to have pretty much forecast the fact that you're going to continue to see just this slump in oil prices, specifically the ones I've been speaking to at ANZ Bank. What's the outlook for 2015 for traders that you've been talking to who are in these currencies? What are they forecasting?
Well, it seems to be, in some ways, a little bit more of the same. Dollar strength is seen continuing, but possibly at a slightly sort of more steady rate than we've seen this year.
Is that because the Fed's going to jump in perhaps in the midtime next year and
right.
so you're going to see maybe a reversal of the strength?
I think a lot is dependent on when they actually do come in at the moment. Most people seem to think that we'll see the dollar gain most in the first half of the year and then maybe moderate in the second half. But because we have very little idea of exactly when the Fed is going to come out, could it be April, could it be June, will it be September? We just don't know exactly what that point is going to be. So I think a lot will be focused on exactly when the dollar is going to make most of its gains. Gains it will make, but exactly when and how far is debatable.
And really quickly, any currency that surprised you this year?
On the surprise side, I think Norway was a bit of a hiccup for people in the market. That was seen actually appreciating at the end of last year, and it hasn't done that.